Tonight, I promise you a story unlike anything you've heard before. A tale whispered to me as a real encounter, one that still haunts the survivor to this very day. Stay with me until the end, and you'll discover why silence can sometimes be the loudest scream. At the far end of town stood a forgotten house, cursed by whispers of tragedy. People said the family who once lived there vanished without a trace. The only thing left behind was silence and the smell of burning wood. Daniel, Claire, and Thomas were inseparable. They laughed at ghost stories and often mocked superstitions. But when someone dared them to spend one night in the haunted house, they accepted with foolish courage. The friends reached the house exactly at midnight. The moonlight barely touched the rotten roof. The wind howled as though the house itself was breathing. As they pushed the door open, a groan echoed through the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling like ash. They pretended to be brave, but each step forward tightened the knot in their stomachs. Inside, there was no sound of insects, no rustling leaves, no distant traffic. Just silence, so complete it felt unnatural. They lit a candle in the living room. The flame shook violently though no breeze touched it. The walls were stained with black marks, as if fire had once licked them. Claire whispered that someone was watching them. Daniel teased her, but Thomas admitted he felt the same eyes burning into their backs. A faint voice called from upstairs. It was soft, broken, like a dying breath, "Leave." Yet curiosity outweighed. The staircase creaked as they climbed. With each step, the whisper grew louder, layering into multiple voices. Male, female, child, all speaking at once, in pain and rage. The hallway stretched impossibly long. Shadows writhed across the walls as if alive. The candlelight bent unnaturally, carving shapes that didn't belong to any human. At the end of the hall was a door with deep claw marks. Daniel pushed, but it wouldn't budge. Then, suddenly, it opened on its own with a sigh. The room was cold, unnaturally cold. A broken crib stood in the corner. Blood-like stains painted the floorboards. Claire gasped, clutching her chest. From the corner of the room, a shadow peeled itself from the wall. It was tall, faceless, with hollow eyes that seemed to drink in the candlelight. When it opened its mouth, there was no sound. Yet their ears rang painfully, as though silence itself was screaming. Terrified, they bolted back down the hallway. But no matter how far they ran, the door to freedom never appeared. The house twisted into an endless maze. Suddenly, Claire was gone. Her candle dropped, still burning, but she was nowhere in sight. A scream echoed from behind the walls. Daniel shouted her name, pounding on the walls until his fists bled. Thomas pulled him, begging him to keep moving, but Daniel refused to leave her. A chilling voice hissed into Daniel's ear, "Stay, and she will live. Leave, and she is mine forever." He froze, heart pounding. Tears streamed down his face. He whispered, "Take me instead." Instantly, Thomas was hurled out of the house, screaming, while Daniel was swallowed by the darkness. Thomas survived, but Claire never returned. And Daniel? His body was never found. The house had claimed him as its own sacrifice. Locals say they still see Claire's face in the upstairs window, her mouth open in a silent scream. Sometimes, they hear Daniel's voice begging for release. Thomas never spoke of that night. But those close to him swore he was never the same. His eyes were empty, as though a piece of his soul had stayed trapped inside that cursed house. The house still stands. Boarded windows, broken walls, yet strangely untouched by time. No one dares to enter. No one, except the desperate or the foolish. If you ever hear whispers when no one is there, do not answer. For once you do, the house knows your name. I promised you a story that would stay with you, one that would make you question every shadow in your room tonight. That promise has been fulfilled. But this is only the beginning. More horrors wait for you here. Subscribe now, or the next whisper you hear might be meant for you.